And our very special guest on Absolutely Famous today is a former Marlborough rugby star, Tamaha MacDonald. He's now a resident in the beautiful Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, just across the border from Florida. Tamaha, welcome to Absolutely Famous, and you're living the life all right over there.
Hello, John. Yeah, thanks for having me on and a chance to speak with you. Yeah, it's a different life. It's a lot different from New Zealand. You know, everything from the food, the culture, the language. You know, there's a lot of transition to take in when you first arrive here. It's a very colourful country. You know, the people are very colourful themselves, very warm type of people, and the food is color, the clothing, the housing, the scenery. There's a lot of cover. Very vibrant people, very vibrant place. So yeah, and I'm fairly happy over here at the moment. Thanks, Sean.
Well done, yeah. And of course, the weather's a bit steamy over there at the moment. Can you just explain a bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, what are we now? We're in what they call the Kanakula, which is actually 40 days of extreme heat. We're just about finishing it because we're in summer. And yeah, we get this season where it comes with 40 days where it's very intense. It's very hot, and we're getting like 38 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius, and very humid. So yeah, that's where we're at now. And then we just about to finish that, and in August we start the hurricane season. And that goes through till, what did they say, September or October. Yeah, and that's yeah, we've had a couple of close calls of those as well since we've been here. So it's all part of living in like the tropics, I guess.
It'll keep you on
It's
your
very
toes,
tropical.
batten down the hatches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Tama. Before we talk about your rugby journey, which has been amazing, your beautiful wife Jennifer, she's had to go through, and you've gone through it with her, some horrendous health battles. I think they started back about 2013 with a stroke. Can you just talk us through how Jennifer's first, how she's coping, and what happened?
Sure. So yeah, she's doing okay right now. Like we've been in the journey for about, well, 9 years now, dealing with her health issues. Um, she is oxygen dependent, so she's all day long with the oxygen points there, and she's fairly restricted in what she can do. But to go back, the first time that we seen something was in 2010, actually outside of the Blenheim Library. We were just walking along the street and she just collapsed. She collapsed on the street in Blenheim, and I rushed her to Wairau Hospital there, checked her out overnight, and they got her stable. She just, what, her lungs just locked. She just couldn't breathe. Nothing was coming through. And so that was the first time that I'd seen an issue in her, and something like kind of major happened like that. It was the first time, and at the time I remember thinking that just seemed more than just an asthma attack, because that's what everybody at the time, we kind of thought it was, that she just had asthma. We didn't realize that she actually had this genetic, um, I guess, defect, genetic issue, that's been with her whole life, but it was dormant, and she just lived her normal life day to day up to then. And that was the first time that I'd seen her when she collapsed in the street. She recovered, and then eventually, about a month or two later, we left to come to Mexico. And then about 2 years later, we seen another episode of like that, where she just struggled to breathe, and we had to rush to hospital and have some other things going on, checkups and stuff like that. And then we had the big event which was in 2013, and that's what that incident. She was hospitalized for quite a long time, and they couldn't really figure out what she had wrong. And actually, they brought in a Mexican military doctor and a blood specialist, a lung doctor and a blood specialist from the military, and they solved her case, figured out, and diagnosed what she'd actually had, what her problem was. Meanwhile, while that was all going on, her lungs just kept, I guess, closing shut, and had real problems. One night, she'd been in there for about a month. No, about 2 or 3 weeks when this happened, and they just panicked. They couldn't get her lungs open, so they started injecting in steroids straight into her, and then that caused her blood pressure to go through the roof, 200 and something and 190, and then they said, now we have to rush her to emergency surgery, and that was 2 a.m. And at that time, they gave her a 50% chance of surviving. And they performed the surgery, took off the bone, and saved her life. And it happened all in about an hour and a half. But it was a very traumatic experience for her and for all of us, the family here. But she survived that against all odds. And that was when the real journey began for us there. And that was October in 2013. So, and this just been struggles and battles all along up until these days. Seizures, severe attacks, panic attacks as well, a lot of things. So, yeah, it's been a very tough journey for all of us. But, yeah, you know, her attitude towards it and the ways that she's dealt with it has been absolutely inspiring for all of us and motivating for me. And it just keeps me going.
Well, it has for me too, Tamaha, watching your posts on Facebook, you know, seeing Jennifer's beautiful smile and, as you say, her positive attitude. I mean, part of her surgery, she had a large part of her skull taken off to relieve the pressure.
Yeah. So, yeah, in the emergency surgery, they cut out a piece of the size of her hand, and then they had to drain out, I can't remember the exact amount of blood, because she had severe hemorrhaging inside her head there going on. And they rushed her she was on the 3rd floor, I think it was, down to the 1st floor. It was whooshed past me. They shaved her head only half of her head. They had no time. And they said, say goodbye, she's going to surgery, and just boom. It was all quite pandemonium at the time, you know, very hysterical kind of for all of us, a lot of trauma there. But and they said, we're going to do our best, and she pulled through. And then 3 months later, they did another surgery where they put a titanium plate over the top of that bone where the bone was, because they removed that bone and disposed of it. And then they put that on with, I think it was 86 screws to, you know, fix that to her head. And she still has that today. Yeah.
Amazing woman. I mean, was she like that, you know, before her health issues? Was she pretty determined, positive character before that?
Yeah, Jen is always, she's been very independent, you know, a strong, independent woman. She was kind of the breadwinner for the family, which is, her family consists of her mother and Jen's younger sister, and that's it. Her mother has, Jen has aunties and stuff, but the immediate family is really just Jen, her mother and her sister. So Jen took on a lot of that, the role of providing for the family and that. So that, you know, I guess forced her to be a bit stronger than, you know, it's a lot of load to carry. So yeah, she's always been strong, determined, but she was always a very bubbly person. Liked to get out a lot, very social, very popular with others and stuff, and had a lot of friends. And but you know, things changed just like that, John. And you know, just literally overnight there, from 2013, just changed our lives completely. And you know, we've had to adapt and try to make the best of the situation that we have. And that's what Jen has driven that. She's been amazing with that, with her attitude to dealing with her problems has been exactly that, you know, like she's just taken it all front on and never complained and just dealt with whatever her hand was, whatever come up in front of her. So it's been awe-inspiring really for me and many others. But it's been extremely hard too. It's very demanding. And I've been caring full-time for now 9 years, and that takes a lot of work, takes a lot of effort, a lot of commitment. And it hasn't always been roses. It's been a lot of challenge for us.
Well,
But, just keep going, man.
I think you've done an amazing job, Tamaha. You're an inspiration to husbands out there who are faced, not many of us realise what you face. I work as a nurse in a large hospital, so I know exactly what you're going through, and it's some families are left to their own device, some patients are left to their own devices, but the fact that you support your wife, and that man is wonderful.
Well, I've received a lot of support too, don't get me wrong, John. I've received support from all around the world. New Zealand, obviously, Blenheim, Marlborough region especially, but, Australia, USA, England, and Italy. Jen lived in Italy for a while. Friends from Europe, and all over Mexico. So yeah, and a lot of people that we have never met. So this has shown a lot of. I've seen a lot of the good of humanity coming through. I've been on the receiving end of it. People donating large amounts of money for us to provide for her care, to provide for her medicine, to provide for her wheelchairs, the oxygen tanks that we have, the power cuts out. It's been a huge financial strain on us. So, one of the key things that's helped us get through all of this is the support that we received. And I will say, where we live here in Mexico, we have a really big expat community from the USA and Canada. A lot of friends of mine, of ours, and they were really the key to supporting me through it, because they were here on the ground with me, and they were providing support to me. Staying at hospitals with me, staying overnight, and bringing food and all sorts. It was quite amazing to be a part of from that point of view. Just the good human spirit, man, just coming to the forefront. It was quite powerful, actually. It really built up a lot of momentum with people coming at us from everywhere, offering different stuff, ideas, support, their networks, their contacts to doctors. So yeah, that's quite overwhelming. That's quite humbling in itself, that part, to get that kind of support, because it just makes it easier when you're going through something like this.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job, and it is important too that you look after yourself, because I'm sure there's times when you're a little bit overwhelmed, and
and I've learned a few things along the way about that as well, trying to deal with that. And I've done a lot of training. I do fitness and stuff, trying now and then to keep fit and burn off a bit of energy, of how I'm feeling. So I learned the Zoo program, which is a bodyweight training program designed by Nathan Helberg out of Australia. When I got certified in that, I learned how to do that, and so I can train at home without equipment, and small spaces, confined spaces. You can do a really good workout. So I started to tune into things like that to help me, deal with what's going on.
Yeah, all power to you, mate, and we wish you all the best and going forward. And Tamaha, your rugby career, you had an amazing journey with rugby, really interesting worldwide. You started off at the mighty Motory Magpies Club in Blenheim. You just talk us through your rugby journey, mate. It's been amazing.
Yeah, so I started like we all do in NZ there. I started at 5 years old playing at the Motory Rugby Club, family club, all the MacDonalds there, and a lot of my cousins. So that was my first introduction, and I remember going to rugby a lot with Dad from an early age, and following his teams around and stuff. And yeah, it's just something that we all grow up as Kiwi kids. I still dream of being an All Black.
Don't give up.
Still available, and it's just it's a part of us. It's ingrained in us. So yeah, and then just played a little bit at Marlborough Boys, and then just pretty much been involved with rugby, Marlborough Boys College, there, and where else did I play? St Mary's, my high school, my primary school, with a lot of friends as well. So yeah, all through that age group stuff, it really was just something I always enjoyed doing and being part of. And yeah, I always just try to push myself to the highest level I could. I never got to the full, the highest possible level, like Super Rugby level, but I did get a lot of joy out of playing. I met a lot of friends, travelled a bit, and I just enjoyed being involved with rugby. And actually, when we moved here to Mexico and we decided that we're staying here, I was like, what am I going to do? And actually, that's when I decided to get involved with rugby here. So I found out that they had rugby here, and that's when I joined up with the Black Thunder Rugby Club. And they were created as an opposition club to the Wallabies Rugby Club in Mexico City. There's a Wallabies Rugby Football Club, and there's Tasmania Rugby Football Club, there's the Koalas Rugby Football Club. So a young bunch of guys set up Black Thunder Rugby Club, and they asked me to come and be involved with them. Talented young guys who a lot of them went on to play in the Mexico national team, playing Mexico Sevens national team. And so they had potential, and I was looking for something to get my teeth into now that we're living there in Mexico City. So that's how my involvement with rugby in Mexico got started. And then it just grew from there. I started getting involved in the state games at the representative level above club, which is like a interstate rugby, similar to like what they do in Aussie there in Australia, and got involved with that we traveled around a bit Mexico, playing other states, so that was good. And then I had a chance to get involved with the Mexico under-19 team, and that was a very exciting time for us. And there I coached with two Argentinian rugby guys that lived in Mexico. They've been living here for a long time. I was the assistant coach with them and coached the backs. That was my focus there. And, obviously taking other drills and bits and pieces as you go through your campaign. But yeah, I was the backs coach, and it was a good time there, and plenty of travel. And just interesting, some of the countries that we play: Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Bermuda, Bahamas, Jamaica, USA South. And those are all the ones and Cayman Islands. And those are all in our region called NACRA, which stands for North American Rugby Caribbean Association. North American Caribbean, I think it is. It's basically that Caribbean, and only the south of the USA. And they compete against each other each year in a competition. Yeah, it's like a cup. So yeah, I got involved with that as well. After the under-19s, I was asked to help out with the Mexico national team, and 15s, which I did as well as the backs coach.
Fantastic. Of course, you'd have happy memories of your times back in New Zealand playing for the Marlborough Red Devils, Tasman Counties Manukau, and Otago too. I think you played for Otago as well.
So I played at Otago Māori rugby when I was down there studying for university, and when I was in Otago, I played with Southern Rugby Club and Green Island Rugby Club. And Green Island, I had the opportunity to play with Greg Cooper, who was our fullback, and we had Kevin Middleton, was our blind side. We had a very good team that year. We were all very young, and Peter Wilson was another open side flanker. So yeah, I played with them, and then in my last season, I transferred over to the Southern Club, and man, that team was stacked. We had Case Muse, Cooper Venisi, Stu Forster played some games for us. Isi Tolamaka played some games for us. Ruben Parkinson. It was a very strong club, Southern. And we actually lost in the semi to University A. And that's when I marked up against John Leslie, playing against him on Carisbrook, which is a bit of a highlight for me because he's probably one of my toughest opposition that I ever had to go up against. Really tall, lanky guy, skillful, Yeah, so he was a handful and probably the hardest player that I had ever played against. And then also had to play against George Laupepe when I moved to counties, and that was a physically in my past.
Keep away from his tackles. We've just lost you there a bit, Tamaha. Can you get a bit? That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
of course, as I say, you played for Marlborough too, but overseas, you played in England as well as Australia.
Yeah, so I had a chance to go and play half a season. I was asked to go and join Plymouth Albion Rugby Club, and they were coached and led by a player called Graham Dorr, who was a famous English hooker. And he was famous for, I guess, sitting on the bench behind Brian Moore, who you would, I'm sure, recall,
Yes, remember
the
Brian
English
Morton,
famous.
tough nut.
And he played, yeah, very tough guy. He played pretty much all the games. And Graham was the backup hooker to Brian Moore. So he never really seen a lot of playing time because Brian Moore played a lot. But yeah, he was a player coach for us, and he was a very good guy. And we won that season in Division 3, and then they got promoted up to Division 2 the following season, and then they won that and went up to the next of it, Division 1. Yeah, so I was only there for a short time, but it was a very good experience. And the English are very professional, even in the lower grades, of how they do their rugby. Everything it surprised me, like the very professional rugby has been there a lot longer, and you can see it. And this was even when I was there in 2000. But they just had that structure and their mentality is to train a lot, lift a lot of weights, heavy lifting. We had a Olympic powerlifting coach who had done stuff with the Great Britain team, and he trained us on Monday nights. And man, he taught me some really good lifts, Olympic lifts that we use for training. Very hard and good training. But yeah, so that's all just part of that professional rugby setup that they've had in England for a lot longer than New Zealand, and it filters all the way down to the lower level clubs even.
Yeah, and of course, you had a stint that you played a bit of American football as well while you're over in the States.
Yeah, so I arrived there, and the family that I was staying with suggested to me, "Oh, we think you should get involved with American football." I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that. I don't really know the game at all. I have no idea of how to play it. I didn't know anything." And they go, "That's okay. Because all the foreigners are good at goal kicking, so you can just be the goal kicker." It's like, well, okay. So I started out as the goal kicker and I was like, well, how hard can that be? Because every conversion is taken in front of the post. So I was like, yeah, that's easy. I'll do that. So, and actually, I never missed any of the kicks. I got all of them all season. So yeah, I started at that, and then they put me on defense. They said for the practice squad. So you can just play defense until, and in the training squad, just act as basically you're going to get, just training drills. So I started doing that and learning that. And what I did is I found that it helped with my rugby with tackling, because that's all we trained, is defensive skills and tackling and patterns, your formations. So yeah, in some regard that helped my rugby. And then I managed to play a game as well on defense. But really my involvement there was just being a part of the school team, because it's a big part of the community. And to do all the festivities as a high school student, like we had the homecoming dance and all of that goes on, that comes with the football season. So yeah, I really didn't play in the first team a lot, but it was a very good experience for me, and actually sparked my love of American football, and I followed the Dallas Cowboys ever since.
Yeah, good team to get on board with. So, what were you doing in the States, Tamaha? What took you over there?
So, I decided to go to high school there. I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to do a year of school somewhere else. And so I decided to go to the USA. I just was somewhere at that time I want to go USA. And yeah, I just thought of the experience of living in another country would be good for me. And actually it was probably the best thing I ever did, because it made me independent at a young age. I was 16 when I left to go over there for a year. And it just set me up. Like, I've always lived abroad a lot since then. You know, I've been to Australia and England and now here, 12 years over here. So, and looking back on it now, that early time away from my home, from my family, and, you know, your comfort zone, that definitely helped me when I arrived here to Mexico. Because I remember coming out of the airport of Mexico City and just feeling this just different vibe, just completely different animal. I'm in a city now, at that time it was 20 million people, and it's just noise and just a different environment, you know, different vibe. And not only you've got the language and the culture and the food that goes with all that, but it just really hit me. But I think what's helped me to adapt and adjust to here and dealing with what I've been dealing with was that foundation, that year of when, you know, the year of high school in the USA. I really do think that's helped me survive some of this, along with a lot of other things that I've picked up in life as you go along, as we do. But that 1 year, that's a standout for me. And actually, I still have contact with the guys and girls actually that we went to school with there, you know, thanks to Facebook and all that. And we've got the 25th reunion was this year, but I wasn't able to get there. Was it 25 or 20? I can't quite remember, but no, it would have been, 20 or even more. I can't remember the exact amount, but I set me up well, and I highly recommend that actually to younger people, to get outside your comfort zone and go try school if you can in another country. That'll show you what you're made of. And actually, the first night there, I cried my eyes out, John. I said to them, "No, I want to go back." My very first night, and my host mother said to me, "Well, just think about it, and, you know, let's see." Slept on it, and I actually had a dream that I'd gone back. And I woke up in the morning, I went, "Oh gosh, I'm still here, thank goodness." And I just literally changed overnight. I said, "No way," because you know what? In my dream, Mum and friends and everyone's going, "Why'd you come back? You're in the USA." And I actually dreamt that. And then I woke up and I was like, "No, okay. No, I'm fine. I'm good. I'll be fine." And I never looked back since. I've never cried about being away from home since. That was that last time, 16 years of age. But it's the best thing I did.
Yeah, you're having an amazing life. Well, Tamaha, it's been wonderful to speak to you, mate, and we wish you all the best, and wish Jennifer all the best in her health battles. And like I said before, you know, what you've done for your wife is inspiring.
Thanks, John. I appreciate those words. And you know what? I remember at the time when it was happening, and the doctor said to me, "We're going to take her to the surgery, we're going to do this and that." And I just paused, and I had one of those moments of, man, it's happening to me. This, you know, that, my mother-in-law's got cancer or something. You know how the people have those events, and,
Yep.
and then it dawned on me where it was happening to me, you know, that I was in the middle of something intense, extreme, and it was really like a defining moment, because it was, well, here we go. And that was literally as they took her off to surgery. And I guess what I'm trying to say there, John, is I think until it actually happens to you, you don't really know how you're going to respond. And you don't really know what's in you, what you've got within you. But going through something like this just pulled out the wairu, the spirit, the mana, pulled it out of me. Just the warrior within me, man. It woke me up big time. And it really was a moment of, this is it. Your moment has arrived. My moment has arrived to show up, to fight for my wife, to help her fight for her life. And yeah, it was literally like that. It was one of those moments where you realize, geez, this is actually happening to me, and you're not reading about it from some friend or someone else. So, and I just think that when you arrive to that moment, then that's when, you know, people, anyone that would in my position would do the same. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Any man, I think, any man that I know for sure would be doing the same thing, John. So But I do appreciate you saying it. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. And look after yourself too, Tamaha. And like I say, it's been a privilege to speak to you. I haven't seen you for a long time, and give our love to Jennifer and best wishes.
Thanks, Sean. It's good to see you again as well, bud. Enjoy following your page here, and yeah, we'll look forward to following you some more. And I will pass on your regards to Jen there. Sorry she couldn't join me tonight.
Definitely. And your dad, Tamaha, of course. Tangy, of course, ex-Marlborough player. Know Tangy well too. Yeah. Great character.
Yeah, he's been over here twice. He's come over and seen us. So yeah, for a few days and visit. So that's good.
Good stuff. Thanks, Tamaha. Wonderful to talk to you, mate.